The season ended with a finale that provided plenty of answers while clinging to a bit of mystery. One of the tricky parts of a ghost story like True Detective, Night Country is the banal, inevitable business of having to explain events that were once teasingly inexplicable. It is more haunting, for example, to imagine a supernatural force turning terrified scientists into an Arctic corpuscle than to learn that they were commandeered by a vigilante band of indigenous women taking justice into their own hands. This is the risk the creator Issa Lopez has courted all season, as the show's procedural elements have been intermingled with obscure symbols, hidden traumas, and outright ghostly hallucinations. In order to solve the practical mysteries facing Danvers and Navarro, it would have to come crashing back to Earth. Yet the achievement of this flawed but compelling finale is that Lopez succeeds in having her cake and eating it, too. The important whodunit questions about the deaths of Annie K., and the scientists have concrete answers, but she's unwilling to sell out the spiritual and psychological unrest that's unique to this locale. From the beginning, the strongest element of Night Country has been its evocation of Ennis, Alaska, as this northernmost outpost of humanity, a border town to oblivion. There have been several moments, including a few in the finale, where a character is one step away from disappearing into nothingness, like Werner Herzog's deranged penguin in Encounters at the End of the World. The big revelations start hitting before the opening credits here, as Danvers and Navarro bust into the ice cave system in the middle of a storm that looks formidable even by Ennis standards. Yet Lopez is still unwilling to part with the uncanniness that's been such an important piece of the intrigue. As they make their way through the caves, Navarro peels off through a narrow crevasse, certain that she hears Annie leading her to where they need to go. That's more than a detective's instincts at work, that's a sixth sense. And Lopez validates the moment when the two discover the secret lab where Annie was murdered. The connection between Annie's case and the dead scientists had been something Danvers and Navarro had worked hard to connect, from the romantic relationship between Annie and Raymond Clark to the shady financial arrangement between the mine and the lab, which needed help in finessing its pollution numbers. When they find the underground facility and capture Raymond, their suspicions are confirmed, though the details are a little surprising. As it turns out, the lab's multi-year effort to extract DNA from a microorganism in the ice benefited from robust pollution from the mine, which softened the permafrost. Annie had gotten wind of the project through Raymond's notes and tried to destroy the research, leading Lund and the other scientists to stab her repeatedly. In an ironic twist, Danvers and Navarro are far from the first people to learn about what happened to Annie, despite having investigated the case so obsessively. We discovered last week that Hank had moved Annie's body at Kate's behest, strung along by the promise that she'd use her political connections to secure him the police chief job. But later in this episode, Danvers uses Raymond's testimony about holding the hatch while his fellow scientists were attacked to deduce that there must be evidence of someone trying to get in from the top. That leads her to an indigenous custodian who discovered the hidden lab, figured out what the scientists had done, and took the law into her own hands. As staged, the flashback to the vigilante assault on the scientists seems like a bit of a stretch, too extreme an action for ordinary women to take. But Lopez has done well in laying the groundwork to make it semi-plausible, given the conspiratorial coziness between the mine and the authorities and the hostility directed toward natives who have been paying the steepest price for profits. They cannot trust that justice will be done on Annie's behalf, and even Navarro and Danvers, two women of the law, have to concede the point. After all, one of their own helped cover up the murder.